And welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry, today being Monday, November 20th, 2023. Madam Clerk, may I have the call to order resolution?
It's moved by Councillor Bergeron, seconded by Councillor Broad, that the meeting of the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry be hereby called to order.
All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Madam Clerk, the adoption of agenda resolution, please.
It's moved by Councillor Broad, seconded by Councillor St. Pierre, that Council approve the agenda.
All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, the resolution to adopt the minutes.
It's moved by Councillor St. Pierre, seconded by Councillor Bergeron, that the minutes of the meetings, including the in-camera minutes of the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry, held October 16th and November 9th, 2023, and the Committee of the Whole minutes dated October 16th, 2023, be adopted as circulated.
All those in favor? Opposing? None. That's carried. At this point, we're going to move into our delegations. We have 3 delegations with us today. The first one is from the United Way SDG. I believe that's done in tandem. We have Juliette Labazier, the Executive Director, and with Juliette, we have Kathy Ashby from the House of Lazarus. Welcome to you both. Good morning.
So good morning for those that don't know me. My name is Juliette. I am the Executive Director of the United Way, and I'm accompanied with Kathy from House of Lazarus. There we go. Perfect. So thank you for having us back again. Do I need to speak in the mic, or can you all hear me well enough? Like this? Okay, perfect. Thank you for having us back again. It was approximately a year ago that I first came to present to you the Last Resort Fund and the work that we were doing in the counties. I want to be able to point out that for this current fiscal year, the City of Cornwall made a very large sum contribution to this fund from the Social Services Department of Housing, which covers Cornwall and SDG counties. Support was strong to back this program because this program has a proven track record, incredible partnerships, and the most bang for your buck that you'll get in housing right now. You could never have an infrastructure project house as many people as we do with the money we are asking from you today. It is a worthwhile investment.
The Last Resort funding is making an incredible difference in people's lives. The process is simple. People from across the counties call us at House of Lazarus. We do a simple intake with them. We hear the stress in their voice. We hear their tears. We hear their fear. They have called others and heard that they don't fit the criteria one too many times. They have been sick. They have lost their jobs. They have been evicted. They are homeless. They are desperate. They have no hope that things will get better. They have no heat. Their hydro is being cut off. They're behind in their rent. They're living in their vehicle. And then we say we can help. We can pay their hydro bill, their heating bill, their rent arrears, and we can pay first and last month's rent when they find a place to stay. Their demeanor changes. There are new tears. Tears of joy, tears of hope. I've never been blessed so many times in my life.
Money that was committed by the City of Cornwall for the entire region of Cornwall and SDG in late 2020, and with our other partners that contributed, we decided to stretch it out until we knew we had time to come back to you and Cornwall Council and make an ask for the following year. We're going to break this presentation and all of its data and funds into 2 parts. And this first part that I'm going to present to you is a complete look at the impact of this program during the United Way Centraide's fiscal year that ran from April 1st, 2022 to March 31st, 2023. In SDG and Cornwall combined, we invested $171,000 during that time period, mainly from donors, but $57,000 of it was coming from those City of Cornwall funds. In total, within SDG and Cornwall, this meant that we were able to bring comfort, security, and dignity to 121 individuals and families. A reminder that for anyone living in Cornwall or Akwesasne, they are asked to follow the intake process with Agape. And for those living in the counties, it is with House of Lazarus, and why I invited Kathy to be with me today. Each of these organizations holds expertise in navigation towards services, understanding the complex world of rebates and tax credits. So it's logical that an intake for a program like this be done by individuals with that knowledge to ensure that no duplication happens and a prioritization of other sources of revenue happens first. And we, therefore, only arrive to this fund when it truly is the last resort. Of those numbers that I just presented to you, here are the statistics that specifically are linked to the counties. In 2022-2023, $68,400 was streamlined to individuals and families in your region, helping 59 of them stay in their homes, find a new place to live, or remain safe.
As you can see, in 2022-2023, the most need in the counties was for heating, followed by hydro. Some bills we pay are only a few dollars. To someone who has always paid their bills, the stress of being in arrears is great. This funding alleviates stress and helps families focus on being families. The hardest calls to take are those from people who are at risk of losing their home, and especially those who are already identifying as homeless. 8 people who were homeless last year were housed thanks to this program, and I can assure you, we cheered each and every time. The need for this program is never ending, and so we thought it worthwhile to give you a glimpse into what is happening right now in this current year. Already since April, we have invested an additional $48,000 into helping people in SDG. 35 individual or families have been assisted. The impact of this money is directly on your constituents, as we at House of Lazarus take 0% admin fees. Not a dollar of this money is used to run the program. We see the value of this program, its impact, and we are ensuring the biggest impact possible. In this diagram, let us look at how the $48,000 was spent since April. Hydro arrears have taken a lead over heat, but not by much. We know it's related to the time of year, since heating is not a priority April to September. But we can see, as we approach the winter months, it's concerning that 31% of requests are people still trying to get a handle on their heating bills from last winter. From the phone calls over the past few weeks, we know that fuel companies will not deliver this year's fuel until last year's is paid for. Although the investment by the city and the United Way SDG donors was significant, it wasn't enough to meet the growing need for a program like this. We at House of Lazarus fundraised and were given an additional funds to support the program, including $10,000 from 100 Men Who Care North Dundas and just over $11,000 that we added to our Neighbors Helping Neighbors program. This meant we helped 18 more households, 4 more unhoused individuals, with the more than $21,000 that we used to supplement this last resort funding. Unfortunately, this money is not funding we can rely on annually.
I want to tell you some true stories. People from the counties from which we've changed their name to respect their identity and their dignity. Dawn is a senior who is no longer able to work after being diagnosed with MS. Sorry, it's Dawn's wife who was diagnosed with MS. With additional medical expenses, including travels to the big cities for treatment and a loss of income, they fell behind on their bills, and when they called, they were living in a cold home. Gina is an Ontario Works recipient and works part-time at a local grocery store. She lives on so little that she couldn't afford to pay her hydro bill. And when she called, she was running an extension cord from her neighbor's house, giving her the use of only 3 lights in a house that she owns. And Paul was struggling to pay heat in his home. He had an old propane space heater that was over 20 years old and no longer safe to use. The cost to replace his heating system was an expense he could not afford, and those costs for the propane heater did not fit into any government subsidy programs. Unfortunately, these are not isolated experiences. More than 40% of people receiving pensions, subsidies, and/or working in Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry earn less than $33,337 annually. Why is $33,337 annually significant? In 2022, that was the calculated living wage for our region, the amount that reflects what people need to earn to cover the actual cost of living in your counties. So nearly half of the people living in your region can't afford to live there. How can we not ethically have additional programs to support our shrinking middle class, our homeowners who earn less than they need to so as to feed their children and pay their bills? During this affordability crisis, it is the opportunity for you as elected officials to secure funding, to secure the well-being of your constituents while we continue to work with the City of Cornwall to increase our affordable housing stock.
The need is great. The program is necessary. Today, our ask to you is in the amount of $130,000. This would cover the fiscal period for your constituents, 2024-2025. In comparison, this fiscal year, it's an increase from the $120,000 that the City of Cornwall had invested in your region, plus a 9% increase to account for the increase in demand we are seeing in this program, while the cost of living continues to skyrocket. It is equal to the ask currently in front of City of Cornwall Council, who intend to find $200,000 within their next operating budget, an increase of from $180,000 spent in their region this year, so as to care for their own. Hopefully, as the United Way SDG and our partners invest in parallel programs to address poverty, housing insecurity, and homelessness, we will be able to ease the burden of this program and eventually not need to request these funds from you. Today, however, there is no other solution that is as cost-effective, as impactful, as nimble as this one. We are not going to solve our housing crisis overnight, but this is a solid step for you as the elected representatives of your regions to do what you can with what you can, to your neighbors, your brothers, your friends, to stay housed, to find housing, and to remain productive citizens of our region.
Just like to point out that I did a word cloud so you can see all the different municipalities that received funding over this last year. The bigger the wording, the more help that went into that particular community. The affordability crisis isn't ending anytime soon, and more people are one bill away from being put into vulnerable positions where their entire livelihoods are put in jeopardy. The program has tangible and quick results to meet people where they are now by giving them a fresh start on an outstanding bill or an unforeseen large expense. We ask you to contribute $130,000 into our project and help hundreds of families secure or maintain housing in your communities. Our ask gets hundreds more people into housing and keeps people safely housed more than any infrastructure project would at this cost level. Merci. Thank you. Nyawan.
Thank you very much for that presentation, ladies. And at this point, I'm going to open it up to questions, comments, thoughts from members of council. Councillor McGillis.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Thank you for your presentation, Kathy and Juliette. Just wanted to ask a question in terms of how much did you raise last year through, private funding drives and things like that, and public funding in total for the United Way
Through you, Mr. Warden. The data that's projected in this presentation is the total amount that was raised both from private donations and City of Cornwall. For example, on slide 5, you can see that 171,000 was invested into all of the region. Only 57,000 of that was from the City of Cornwall. The rest was privately fundraised money. We don't expect that money into this program this year, however. I'm sure you've heard the City of Cornwall and the United Way has just recently opened Parisian Manor, the Stepping Stone projects. I'm proud to announce today that as of Friday, there is no longer an encampment across the road from you. We have successfully housed every individual that was located at that encampment, and there's only a handful left at the other encampment that we intend to house in the next couple of weeks. And we're doing that thanks to the help from the donors from that program. And we have a new project with the Massey Place School that will be the continuation of the Stepping Stones project that we will be fundraising with those donors for starting very early in 2024.
Thank you for that. Further questions, comments? Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Thanks for your presentation. I know that this is incredibly important work. Having witnessed it sitting on the Regional Emergency Response Council, of course, you know, sustainability for funding is always an issue, and you know, this last resort fund is probably going to become more needed versus less needed in the next while, and my concern is that, you know, we're not really it's like a Band-Aid, right? You know, and we're not really managing to kind of solve the underlying problems that are causing this financial crisis. And so, you know, it's difficult kind of throwing money at a problem when, and certainly it helps individuals, but you know, we do need to be more focused on real solutions, I believe, and so we need to talk to the province, I think, is part of what the solution needs to be, because the province needs to step up and you know, provide support. Municipalities do not have, you know, we already have huge responsibilities, financial responsibilities, and we can't take on homelessness at the municipal level. It just is not manageable. So, you know, so I think we need to collectively put our heads together and see if we can come up with some more solutions here versus just throwing money at it. And I'm just curious, the dollars that came from the City of Cornwall through the housing, was that a specific grant?
Through you, Mr. Warden?
I'm trying to remember.
Yes, so that was leftover money from COVID recovery funds that they were able to displace to us. It was the ask by the province that they roll out a program similar to this, and we were able to do it at a much lower cost level, impacting more people and with more flexibility, because many of the provincial programs come with restraints that as soon as you're a homeowner, you're disqualified, which is the reality for many of your constituents. And if I may touch on your concerns regarding this being a Band-Aid, absolutely. There's no denial from us. Is the need going to grow over the next 2-3 years? Absolutely. So you will see us back. However, I want to reassure you that, for example, the Stepping Stones project that we're working on and the next phase at Massey Place, including other projects that I'm working on with Kathy, are moving towards increasing the deeply affordable housing stock in our region. And hopefully, in medium to long term, there will be less of a need for this, as we will have more affordable housing stock and crisis housing stock in place in our communities to deal with this. And also, the United Way is part of an allied movement in the network within Ontario that is actively lobbying for large changes within the housing funding system. And we proudly bring that to a home working group that represents SDG and the city. And so all of your very specific rural perspectives when it comes to building is being brought to Ontario thanks to that working collaborative and the power that we hold within a larger network.
Thank you. Mr. Warden, if I just may quick.
Please go ahead.
So just back to the funding. You don't see any programs coming out that could be used for this then?
Not in this current year.
No.
Again, we continue to lobby that this is
Okay.
something that should be coming from the province, and we are making waves. There are many municipalities across Ontario that have asked us to present the data and the findings on this program because they are seeing how incredible we are able to work to keep people in their homes. And that's a priority because a senior who owns their home, who loses their home right now, can't afford rent in the current rental market. So we need to keep them in the homes that they own or in the apartments in which they are currently residing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your questions. We'll go to Councillor Broad, then Councillor Gado.
Thank you, Warden, and through you, Warden. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you for the data today. Be remiss if I didn't make a comment seeing villages in my municipality as the largest bubbles that you're supporting. So I do thank you for that, and thank all the past donors that have given, and hopefully we can continue. And I would like to agree with Councillor Williams that obviously it's a much bigger problem, and municipalities have a hard time, and we'll have a hard time, obviously, finding money at a long-term solution. But I'd like us to walk away today for myself and think about collaboration and a strategy on what we could do next. So we've heard the presentation today, got information other than in our budget meeting discussion, budget items, what can we do to help? So I'd like that us to take that as a follow-up to come up with a strategy for us to help.
Thank you for your comment. Councillor Gado.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you, on the same vein as Councillor Williams and Broad, I do think eventually that the province has to step up and help deal with the bigger issue. However, I'd really like to see this council consider this request at a budget time. There is currently that gap. There is people that don't qualify for some of the provincial programs or the federal programs in place. So as an interim solution, I think this is really important. I was on the board for about 3 years for the Agape Center that administered this in the city of Cornwall. And I can tell you those testimonials that were shared today, similar things through the Agape Center. It's a very good program. It's very worthwhile. I think it's something we ought to consider as an interim solution while we work towards the bigger picture.
Thank you for that. Further questions, comments? Seeing none. Ladies, Juliette, Kathy, thank you very much for your presentation and for bringing this challenge that we're all quite aware of, but bringing more detail and statistics, if you would, to our attention. It is truly a challenge that we face throughout SDG. It truly is unfortunate that the people we know suffer these things. Members of our community, and again, to some of the comments that have been made from my fellow councillors about the province and or the feds, they need to change their strategies and think that we're not in the booming era, that we're in an era of struggle, and some of their policies need to change to reflect that. I know that we as council members at the lower and upper tier suffer that they haven't changed with the times and understand the struggles that our local communities face. So I thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you.
Our second delegation is from the SDG Historical Society, and with us today, I do believe we have, yes we do, we have Donna Cruikshank, the president, and Brent Whitford, the senior curator. Welcome. If I may, before we start, if I could, Donna, on someone, maybe Mr. Lyho, can we move those monitors down at all? Thank you very much, Mr. St. Onge.
Excellent, thank you.
Are we good now? Great. We'll start over. Good morning, Warden Fisher and councillors, and thank you for allowing us to present to you this morning. I see you have a very long agenda, so I'll try to get our message across shortly, but we hope that you will be able to follow us and see why we're excited. We're here to talk to you this morning about a significant event that will be happening next June 7th to 9th in Lamoureux Park, celebrating the 240th anniversary of New Johnstown and the Royal Townships, and as we know, what became SDG, and as we say in SDG, where Ontario began. We'd like to talk to you this morning a little bit about our event and how we hope we can count on you to be part of that with us. I'm going to ask Brent now to do the next part.
Excellent. So the purpose of our event is manifold. First of all, our hope and our goal is to share the rich multicultural history of SD&G. We hope to highlight that SD&G has been a welcoming place for all since 1784. We want to blend the past and the present by immersing visitors in all that our region collectively has to offer. And of course, we want to celebrate through song, dance, and performance. Now for this next part, I suspect that most of you are already aware of the historical significance of 1784. In 1784, Loyalists were granted territory along the St. Lawrence River from Lancaster to Brockville, effectively establishing the Royal Townships. The principal municipality of the Royal Townships was New Johnstown, or present-day Cornwall. And with the establishment of the Royal Townships and the settling of New Johnstown effectively began Eastern Ontario, as well as the province of Ontario more generally. And as your county's slogan so proudly states, it quite literally is where Ontario began. This is a map of the initial Royal Townships from Lancaster to Brockville, with Cornwall being township number 2, and the SD&G United Counties spreading all the way to number 5. As part of the event, we've contracted living history groups, or more commonly known as reenactors, to rebuild the original encampment of New Johnstown in Lamoureux Park. These living history groups will host interactive educational demonstrations for the public. One of the feature events of the weekend will be a reenactment of the Loyalist Landing and the drawing of the lots, where effectively where the original settlers drew for their lots across the original townships. They will also hold demonstrations of tactical maneuvers, so firearms, cannons, that sort of thing. And throughout the whole weekend, they will live as the people lived in 1784 and invite the visitors to participate and to engage in some of those activities.
Some of you may have attended the plowing match in Finch, maybe a few of you, in 2015. At that event, we had a history and heritage tent, and we would be replicating that kind of a tent in Lamoureux Park, right here on Water Street. We're inviting all of the heritage groups from Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry, and we're hoping as well maybe some of the groups from Leeds and Grenville who are also part of the Royal Townships. If you remember that tent, we had the historic groups displays and exhibits. As well, we had interactive displays, and we had performances of different heritage groups, as well as craftspeople presenting their heritage demonstrations. That's going to run on the Friday and the Saturday, and we're hoping it's going to be a major attraction for not only people in the city of Cornwall and SD&G, but also encourage a lot of tourists from Eastern Ontario, Ottawa, and Montreal to attend the event. The next part is the museum. When we did 1784 and 2022, it was a celebration of cultures, the French culture, Scottish culture, and that's how I got involved, and also the Akwesasne culture. This time, we're going to focus on the historical aspects and the celebration of 240 years. The museum will be a major part of that. We will have tours, guided tours in the museum, and as well, we will unveil a new exhibit on the founding of Cornwall and Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry. And that will be unveiled and open to the public during our 1784 event. Another major component of the event is the National Conference of the United Empire Loyalist Association of Canada. They are coming to Cornwall because we are where it all began. And in 240 years ago, when the first people stepped on that shore, a lot of their descendants will be coming back for the drawing of the lots to find which lot their ancestors got. So they're actually hoping to reenact it. Perhaps they'll even get to draw the lot themselves. So as we know, a lot of the descendants still live in the area. Certainly some of you may be descendants of United Empire Loyalists. I know part of my family came over a little bit later. They were latecomers, but I guess they kind of fall into that catchment. So these people are coming because they're excited about Cornwall and SDNG, and they're excited that 240 years ago, this is where it all began. This is the map of where we'll be holding the event. As I said, it's right across the road. It's going to go west from the museum to the RCAF building. The tent will be up on Water Street, and down in the natural slope, there will be the reenactors and the 1784 encampment of New Johnstown. As well, the Loyalist landing will take place on the shore and the drawing of the lots. We plan on having 2 concerts, one Friday night and one Saturday night, and they will take place down in the water. They aren't meant to be the typical, we'll hear it up on 5th Street in Cornwall kind of thing. They're more intimate kind of cultural conferences, concerts, where we'll have French Canadian, Scottish, and Alsace entertainers. And the schedule, I think I kind of just went through it with you. Friday is the Heritage Village and mainly school visits. Saturday, we plan on a full day with the Heritage Village, the living history groups, the drawing of the lots, and the Loyalist landing. And on Sunday, then another full day with the living history encampment and military maneuvers. And I think you have the package with that in it. Benefits, well, you're probably saying, okay, what's in it for SDNG? We hear a lot it's taking place in Cornwall. Well, you can't say Cornwall without SDNG. You're sitting in this building that's been here, well, this building hasn't been, but a building for the same purpose. For the same purpose, it's been here since 1802. So that's pretty well very close to 1784. The benefits are that it's time that more people understood why we say it's where Ontario began. It's not because we're on the border of Quebec and the United States. It's because this is where Ontario began. Right across the road, 1784, June the 6th, 500 people came on shore with Sir John Johnson and drew lots. And from there, they went up and down the river and settled in places that still bear those names: Lancaster, Lunenburg, and even going up to Edwardsburg. And if we're sitting in a city which has the same street names from the map of 1790, you know, we're sitting on Pitt Street, and next to us is Augustus and Amelia and Sydney Street. Those are the same names. This is where it began, before anyone else had a name on a street or a town map. This is where it began. So we want to solidify that, not only in the minds of the people who already know it, but in the visitors and in the citizens of Stormont Dundas and the city of Cornwall. We want to make this into an event that's more than something that the Society and the museum are doing it. We want to make it an event that all of SDNG is proud to be doing, as well as the city of Cornwall. It happens to be held in Cornwall because, yes, that's where they landed. They could have landed in not Long Sault, but the Mill Rush area maybe, but they landed here in Cornwall. Geography, and I guess it was a nice bay that they could land on. And it was below the rapids, so that's why they didn't go any further west. As well as that, we want to educate everyone who comes, not only about what we're doing about 1784, but also about the many attractions that this area holds. We all know about what SDNG has. but we need to sell it to people outside, and this is a wonderful opportunity. So we'll be encouraging all of our tourism groups to come and be part of our event. We want you to be partners with us in this event. So it's a way to celebrate our history, it's a way to celebrate what we've become, and it's a way to get other people to see it as well. Oh, and by the way, this is a free event for everyone. It's cost recovery. Whatever goes in, stays in, and we have a wonderful celebration. And we need your help, of course, for this. This comes to the pitch. I've already talked about how it would be wonderful to have you as partners as an event, to be able to share the message, to be able to support us in the message, and to be able to help us in any way you can. As well as that, we would hope that you would use your social media to be able to promote the event for us and in any other communications that you have. Of course, it all comes down to the money. This event wouldn't happen without a significant piece of money. We ran this event, as I said before, in 2022, and it was a cultural celebration. This is totally different. It's a huge birthday party, and as you know, birthday parties cost. We are putting all of the historical groups and heritage groups in a tent because we found the last time it was, for safety reasons, the last time we had a huge windstorm and the little pop-up tents were not safe, also the security, and also the ability to make it into a community. So we're running a Heritage Village tent, which is costing us a considerable amount of money. And the living history groups are costing us a considerable amount of money. The other piece that we're adding that wasn't there before was promotion, marketing. We want to market this event outside of our area. We want to market it in Ottawa, Kingston, West Montreal, upstate New York, where a lot of the Loyalists either settled or have relatives who are across the river. We are asking the counties for $12,000 to assist us in this event. And you are welcome to indicate how you would like your money spent, not on, stuff that we wouldn't want, but in our budget. And we really would like you to be partners. So we're asking for two things. One is monetary, and the other one is your partnership. Brent, would you like to add anything? I may have forgotten one thing.
No, that's fine. In terms of the benefits, as senior curator of the museum, I've seen about 3,000 people come through the Cornwall Community Museum over the tourist season. I'd say about 50% of those are not originally from Cornwall or SDG or ever from Cornwall and SDG. As you know, there are a lot of new arrivals coming through the area. And it's really important for them, and they express joy in learning about the history of 1784, the events, and it helps them feel, a little bit more at home and to help them sort of resettle. And to highlight the fact that we were founded by refugees, I think is also a huge point. So I see a lot of benefits here, not only to the locals, but also to the visitors and the new arrivals in sharing this message and in welcoming them, right? Which is what I meant when I said to highlight that SDG has been a welcoming place for all since 1784. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for that presentation. It was very enlightening, and I'm sure that my fellow councillors felt your energy and enthusiasm, and they share in that. And so I'll open up the questions and comments from members of council. Councillor McGillis, then Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I think this is a great event, and I thank you for being here today to explain to us what, and educate us in terms of what our past history is with the Empire Loyalists that arrived here. This is close and dear to my heart because I was raised with my siblings, the 8th generation on a farm on Myers Road where it is, former 8th concession, and so there was a lot of history there. And I will totally be happy to support something like this when it comes to budget time, when it's brought up again. And I think that it's important that we explain to and educate our children today that don't know about our history, our past history. And I think this is a great opportunity for them to be at this event and also learn more about what, what we all went through and our forefathers went through and the struggles that we had over the past, and the lots that you were talking about that was drawn. I remember my dad talking about that too. It's a real education, and I'm looking forward to being at this event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and I echo Councillor McGillis's comments on support. I think that it's a reasonable amount of money for a great event like this, and Don, I wish maybe you should have led with your experience in organizing large events. That you're one of the main organizers of the Glengarry Highland Games, and that seems to go off every year without a hitch, so I feel confident in the organizers. My question is, who are the other partners that you're going to be reaching out to? Thank you.
The question was other partners we're going to be reaching out to.
Yes, we have been talking to almost everyone that we think should be part of our celebration. We have met with Nolan Quinn. We have plans for a meeting with Eric Duncan. We had to postpone to another date. We'll be meeting with Grand Chief Benedict on next Monday. And as well, we have been in contact with the city. We've met with the administration of the city and the CAO, and now we're just sending in our formal request to them. But we've had a very positive response from them as well. I think everyone sees the benefit of coming together with a major celebration. Let's let people know that 240 years ago, this is where it began. So we're getting a very positive response.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Broad.
Yeah, thank you through your warden, and thank you for the presentation and welcome. Just a quick comment. I've been attending meetings within South Dundas with the Historical Society, and as well as I do attend the Friends of the Chrysler Battlefield executive meetings. It certainly I have interest in that. And one of the things that we could also do, maybe we could offer up as part of our partnership, we do create some excellent videos with SDG, with Tara Fitzpatrick and through Peter Young's group, and maybe video some of this event and capturing a video for longevity of the activities, so that they'll be shown in the museum is something we could use as marketing for folks, for future visitors when we do a reenactment at Chrysler Farm or any time through at SDG. So maybe creating a video could be one of the things we could partner with them as well.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Thank you for your thoughts, Councillor. Councillor McGillis.
Thank you again, Mr. Warden. Another thing too, you had mentioned about contacting different economic development organizers and our municipality officers. We'd be happy to do everything we can to help promote this and advertise this when this goes public. And if there's anything we can do to help you in any way, I'm sure that every municipality would, in SDG and the City of Cornwall, will be more than happy to do anything we can in terms of marketing and advertising.
Thank you.
Further questions, comments? Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Warden. Speaking of South Glengarry, we do have a grants and donation policy, maximum of $4,000, which I think Friday is the deadline, so if you're interested in that one. And that's coming from the municipality with 0101 on our roll number. That's the first township in the first county that we have ourselves.
Always with a plug. I don't have many comments. I share the comments, except we're not 01, I guess, in North Dundas. But nevertheless, I share the enthusiasm that's been spoke about this project. It is important. Councillor Broad and Councillor St. Pierre, in Dundas County, we have strong curators of our United Empire Loyalist history, and we're working to support that, as well as the archives and the rest of the history of Dundas County, and I know that goes on throughout. I'm not saying no one else does it, but I know we all have that feeling that we need to preserve our history. We need to make sure people understand and know what took place here in SDG. It's an exciting month of June for us to see this take place, and I look forward to great success. And as has been mentioned, the other components we can offer with some of our skill set here at the counties, I certainly look forward to full advantage being taken of that. And if there's nothing else, thank you for this encouraging and invigorating talk about our history. It really does stir the pot for all of us. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Warden. Councillors.
Thank you.
Our last delegation is Mr. Nick Thurler from GET Corp.
Is it supposed to go over? Yeah, it's going out so we can see it. My notes, grab the notes. I'm not, yeah, that's fine. Too good with those things. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to listen to me. And so I just want to give a brief update of what GetCorp is and for our ask at the end. So GetCorp was, it all started about January 2021. I had a company from Denmark called Green Island reach out to me, and they want to expand digesters into manure digesters into Canada. And one of the questions was, they asked me if I could deliver the Canadian manure to them. So that was a pretty big question, but the more I got talking with them, the more they made a lot of sense. And a couple of things I really liked. They said we need to put a program together that works with the marketplace. We don't want have to ask for grants or subsidies to make a project work. So, and my question to them was, if you want the Canadian dairy manure, we got to find a program that fits every farm, it's not just a few larger ones. So that's how it kind of got started. Later that year, I got talking with a lady that was at DFO, Dairy Farmers of Ontario, that was there, that I knew very well, and so she became a partner and my CEO. So GetCorp was created in January 2022, which is myself, Shika Jen, my CEO, and Neil Hawks, he's the owner of Green Island, Denmark. So the three of us are the main partners. There's a couple minor ones, but so what the program does is, so I wanted to see the numbers and stuff. So we're working on putting a digester on my farm, which is pretty much at the end of construction. We're actually commissioning the digester right now, and so the most. I guess I already talked about my journey a little bit. So the producer benefits of making natural gas with manure. So it reduces your GHG emission. It improves the manure management. It's a better soil health. Reduce the purchases of commercial fertilizer, because once the manure goes through a digester, it's 35% more available to the plant. So every farm that would be involved in this wouldn't have to buy as much fertilizer, and it's an additional revenue for farms. So we created the Sustainable Agricultural Program named SAP. So what SAP does, we pick up the manure on farms. So yeah, I'll get to that after. So we pick up the manure on farms, bring it to the digester, and bring back the digestate to the farmer. We we're producing RNG, so not electricity, so we don't need a FIT program or which is a subsidy. And it's only on-farm waste. There's no off-farm waste coming into it, so that creates a green gas, which is worth more money, and you get better carbon credit price for them. And the reason we don't take on off-farm materials because we can control what goes in. In Denmark, what happened, they built 2,800 digesters, and they were all relying on this off-farm material to make them work. And it became that there was too many digesters, not enough off-farm material coming in. So instead of the digester getting paid to get this stuff, they had to pay to get it. And then the model didn't work anymore. So that's one reason why we want to be in control of what's going in. That way we know. And then it's easier to keep the digester. Digester is like I say a cow's stomach, but anybody's stomach. Like it needs to be fed the same thing all the time, so there's no spikes and stuff to be as. So yeah. Anyways, I'll go to the next slide. So what does Get Corp does? So we construct the digesters. We secure the feedstock. So we secure the participant that be involved in feeding the manure to the digester. We'll do the testing. We'll do the trucking, monitoring, the servicing of the plants. We got collect a lot of data to apply for your carbon credits, LCFS. And securing the offtake agreement. So the offtake agreement, talking to TransCanada Pipeline, Ambridge, and all those big guys, they don't want to deal with me, you, and my neighbor. They want to deal with one entity. That was another reason why Get Corp was formed. And if you have a bigger volume of gas, you could bargain a better price for the gas too. So yeah, the first one, so this picture is probably last summer sometimes. So we did partner. It was hard, well, it was impossible basically to get financing for this at first, so through banks. So we went look for private money, and we ended up getting $56 million from GFL, Green for Life. Everybody, I think, knows them, to build the pilot project. The pilot project is it's probably going to be between 4 to 5 digesters. So there is mine that's well on its way. There's 3 other ones that are starting in Western Ontario right now. 2 of them, I think, have foundations in. And there will be a 5th one in Eastern Ontario by next year. This is that was taken in the spring, so it's a lot of water around. Yeah, so there's 2 big tanks. The blue pool you see behind the smaller tank, that's the foundation for the 3rd tank. So there's actually 2 big tanks and a smaller one. The building where all the equipment is in. Technology partners, so Green Island, so Segas Innovation is the partner with Green Island, so we have them too as a partner. It's a co-op of farmers that started 30 years ago on getting all the data on digestions and how many walks and all that. So they have 30 years of data on how the digested manure works, and they know how to get this thing working. So our scaling timeline, we're pretty ambitious. We're open to build 300 of those digesters across the country by 2030 sometimes. So we do have 4 going up in, 23, 24. And we actually have the next 30. We have the next 30 farms between Ontario and BC. They're ready to sign up with us. And we do have 175 farms that are ready to sign to participate in supplying the manure. So right now we're actually trying to raise the capital for those next 30 digesters, which we are quite close to get. And it's quite amazing once you get 56 million, how different the bank talks to you. We actually could have the money now if we would agree to work with pension funds from Europe. They're all over this, but I would prefer work with people in this country. So the key attributes. So on-farm waste, like I said, we're going to pick up the manure. We have a production yield guarantee of those digesters. We got a guarantee how much gas they're going to produce. We have a long-term feedstock agreement with the producers. Yeah, I don't think. So what we're, okay, I'll go through this slide first. We're proven design and technology. So we have the exclusive, GetCorp's got the exclusive right of this technology for North America. And because of the proactive service and monitoring of those digesters, the uptime is going to be, that's what's happening in Denmark. It's 95% plus, and 24/7 monitoring system from Denmark, actually. Securing offtake agreement. So the methane that comes off the top of the digester is 63% methane, and it's got to get to 97.8% or better to get into the pipeline. So we committed to clean it at 99%. So that happens on the farm. And yeah, the digestate gets back to the farmers and future carbon capture and a positive cash flow. So benefit and impact. So it aligns with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture mandate. Support the dairy farmers of Canada. The last, I think it was in summer 2022, they put a big announcement that every farm should be down to net zero by 2050. Increase employment opportunities in rural communities. Working towards a neutral carbon supply chain, and improve economic and security of Canadian farms. This is not just for dairy, this is for all farms. Hog, poultry, beef, we could handle all that manure. So what we need for success, yeah, in fact, well, you could read it. Technology, policies, carbon offset, ITCs. So ITCs, digesters were left out last spring on the federal government budget. The 30% ITCs for green energy. So we're working on trying to get that, and delivery by displacement and fair market value. So yeah, so what I'm here to ask is to make this project work. So it's a 200, yeah, it was probably on the slide with a picture of my farm. It's a 200 ton a day. It takes 200 ton a day to fill the digester of manure, which is about 1,400 cows. I've got about 500 cows and about 80 tons, so I'm two-fifths of the plant. So on mine, I need 120 ton a day coming in and out, which is, we're open to haul 33 to 35 ton per load. So it's neighboring farms. The distance won't be very long, but to make get Corp as efficient as possible to benefit all the farmers. It would be a big help if we wouldn't have to do offloads in the spring, because the trailers are expensive. We wouldn't be able to afford twice as many trailers. So we would have to run probably 16, 18 hours a day in spring, in the offload season to keep up filling the digester. I didn't touch on, so what we do, so a farm that participate, that we go get their manure, we're giving them $4 a ton for their manure. So we pick up the manure at their barn. They need to have a pre-pit. We pick up the manure at the barn, bring it to the digester, unloads, load the digestate, and then bring the digestate back to their manure pit. For that, they get $4 a ton without any cost. We look after everything. On top of that, they get that manure back. That's 35% more available to their plants, so they will save on buying fertilizers. And then at the end of the year, we give them a dividend on whatever the plant get Corp made. So every farmers, according to the tonnage that went through the company, they're going to get a dividend, a percentage of the benefit. This is a program made by farmers for farmers. And anyways, I think that's about it. If I'll answer any questions.
Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Thurler. I've had the good opportunity to be present for the presentation many times, and I think a few of us may have also heard that, but I'm sure it has some questions, comments, and thoughts to it. I'll open the floor up to that. Councillor Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, through you. Thank you very much for the presentation, and I'd heard about digesters in the area, but wasn't aware of the specifics of how it works. So you're basically picking up the raw manure, extracting the gas, taking it back as a product that's better for the plants, less smell and odor,
yeah,
which is also good for all of us. So I'm just throwing this out there. I don't know what our options are, because usually when we do take a restriction of half load off, it's on a specific road for a specific distance. Whether we would you'd have to work with staff to get all those routes down and figured out. The other thing I don't know if this is not, but I've heard before is that feed mills that are hauling feed to chicken barns and so forth, sometimes we'll get a 3/4 load sort of thing, something in between, full loads and half, and whether something like that might work for you, I'm not sure, and whether that's something that we could investigate at the county side to maybe see, be a little gentler on our roads, but it maybe at the same time be able to accommodate you guys, and hopefully, like you had talked to me earlier, but trying to find trailers with extra axles and try to, figure out ways to be able to keep this stuff moving. But if you're only able to put 5 tons per axle, it's a lot of loads, a lot of trips back and forth, which is also tough on roads too. If you double, triple the trips, just to move the same amount of product. So I hope we can work with you and find a way to support this.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, comments? So I'll weigh in, I shouldn't say weigh in, I do have some thoughts on it. And as many of you may know, we have struggles with our load restrictions certain parts of the year, and how it affects our economy. In essence, we have elevators that ship product overseas. It's a food product that goes overseas to international markets, and how there's restrictions on that. The receiver of the product is not concerned about half load restrictions. They have a product they need delivered to fulfill their challenges, their needs, and it's a challenge that we face locally, and only locally. It's I think of agriculture. Many have heard it said before, agriculture is our industry. We need to recognize that it is our industry, and we restrict it for roughly, I look at Mr. DeHaan, 6-8 weeks a year. We restrict our industry to less than half loads. We call them half loads, but we all know that it's not truly a half load, it's a less than half load. And times are changing. Our industrial agricultural community is growing growing at a rapid pace, but it is a challenge we face because we are lagging, not just here but across the province, in recognizing the need to support ag and ensure that they can conduct business as many other industries are able to conduct business. So I echo Councillor Lang's thoughts. I hope we can, with the information provided by Mr. Thurler and some of the challenges that he faces, and speaking to our transportation department, work through some scenarios where we may be able to find a way to get over this. I know in North Dundas we have our challenges too, and we're looking at different avenues to satisfy the need to keep our industry rolling in SDG and in our local municipalities. So if there's anything else, I'll leave it to fellow councillors. But Mr. Thurler, I think you need to, well, it's important that you have a discussion with our transportation department about some of the challenges that you face and maybe some scenarios where success can be had. Oh, yep. I'm sorry, Councillor Landry. Oh.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Warden. So it just sparked my train of thought there as you're mentioning this. So I'm not sure how we're going to work. So you're asking county council in regards, but a lot of times you're going to be dealing with also our township municipal roads will have to come into play, and now you're dealing with 6 entities versus the 1. So I'm just putting thought through on how that could all work, as far as, because we're not just dealing with our county roads, if I'm not mistaken. So that's something else that I believe Mr. Don or our public roads would be able to come in, but also maybe the discussion may have to be had with our local municipalities as a whole to avoid, one-off throughout the 6 municipalities. So just a comment.
Thank you for your comment, Councillor Landry. I look to Mr. DeHaan.
Yeah, so we have had that discussion with
Yeah, so, thank you. Thank you for this too. My good friend of mine and partner in to get co-op to a small partner, but he's a partner, Ed Duncan. He's actually the one that's been talking with Mr. Don. And but as you know, Ed is in Florida, so he told me I needed to come do the presentation here. So I'm sure Ed would be able to answer more of the questions.
Well, Mr. Thurler, we appreciate that you're here, not Mr. Duncan. As much as I love Mr. Duncan, it wouldn't be a 15-minute presentation, that's for sure. Councillor Broad.
Yeah, thank you, Warden. Just from a South Dundas point of view, obviously, Thurler Farm is on a South Dundas road today, but all roads lead to county roads, and obviously we need a partnership to have the same, whether we have a restriction or not. If we're not all aligned, then it doesn't work. So I'm really expecting us to align on something that works for everybody within the municipalities, as other digesters might come online in all of our communities throughout SDG.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. More of a curiosity than anything. So you're currently, the gas that's coming off is currently being trucked? And because I know that, your conversation with GFL is looking at a pipeline, and is that still part of the plan down the road?
Yes, but the gas still will have to get trucked because I learned a lot about gas and pipeline last couple of years. You cannot, my thought was I got a pipeline 2 kilometers from me, just stick a hose to the pipeline and away we go. You need this injection site to put a small volume of gas into a big pipeline. So the injection site costs a lot of money, and it's not feasible to have an injection site for each digester. So the injection site probably will happen at Moose Creek. Well, it might be a couple. Right now it's Kingston, so we're gonna ship gas probably in January, February. It'll go to Kingston until Moose Creek is ready. But yeah, the feasibility to put each digester piped into a pipeline, the cost is too much.
So if there's nothing else, I do appreciate seeing you once again, Mr. Thurler, and again, for those that haven't had the opportunity to see the presentation and to have the opportunity to get much more than the short period of time Mr. Thurler spent with us. This is a game changer for the agricultural community, those that raise livestock. It's as the nutrient management rules will change in the future, and as development encroaches on our agriculture areas, this is I think it's ahead of the curve on some of the challenges that we're going to face. And again, I speak of not to be too much of an advocate, but I think we need to be considerate of our industry. And to me, the industry that I'm talking about is ag. So thank you, Mr. Thurler. I appreciate the presentation. I appreciate the opportunity to hear this once again. And I trust that you'll have good conversations as we move forward with our transportation departments. Thank you very much. We'll move into action requests, and Madam Clerk, Corporate Services, the resolution for vaccination verification policy.
It's moved by Councillor Broad, seconded by Councillor St. Pierre, that the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry rescind Policy 1-37, Vaccination Verification Policy, Coronavirus COVID-19.
Madam CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. So we had brought forward a key information report at our Committee of the Whole meeting looking for guidance from Council to discontinue the policy. I think that where we were a couple of years ago when the policy was implemented was very different than where we are today. And looking at guidance from our regional health units, I don't believe that the policy is required any longer. It's also an item that currently affects our employability, so we need to currently obtain those certificates from individuals or get proof of vaccination if we're recruiting. So it's our recommendation that at this point in time we have the policy rescinded. And if something were to change with the pandemic or another pandemic, we've learned quite a bit, then we would come back to Council along with guidance from local health authorities to determine, what types of policies might need to be in place to protect the safety of our employees.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Questions, comments, thoughts? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Thank you. Madam Clerk, the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus 7 and 7, please.
It's moved by Councillor Bergeron, seconded by Councillor Broad, that the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry contribute $36,000 to the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus for the 7 and 7 Regional Housing Plan.
Thank you, Madam CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. So everyone is aware of the initiative from the Wardens Caucus to try and advance the number of housing units within Eastern Ontario. The plan really is focused on trying to generate 7,000 affordable rental units that hopefully will generate another 21,000 units in the private sector. We are currently engaging the resources from the Eastern Ontario Regional Network to work on this project and develop the plan. They do have some fairly good experience from a development of large projects and looking for other upper levels of government for funding. So currently, there is going to be an ask to all of our members of the Wardens Caucus to contribute $36,000 to help fund the work by the team at EORN to put together the plan. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them, Mr. Warden.
Thank you, Madam. Questions, comments, thoughts on the presentation? All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Thank you. Madam Clerk, the proclamation referencing the National Housing Day, please.
It's moved by Councillor Densham, seconded by Councillor Guédon, that the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry proclaim November 22nd, 2023 as National Housing Day in the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry.
And Madam Clerk.
Through you, Mr. Warden, this is a day observed by the nation, by Canada. The City of Cornwall is also proclaiming National Housing Day throughout the city, and along with the Habitat of Humanity as a partner. I believe some of our local municipalities have also proclaimed this day for this Wednesday. We will be raising a flag, if Council is supportive, at the front of the building here and also at the City of Cornwall. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments, thoughts? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That's been carried. Thank you. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. DeHaan to come ahead and to speak to the next item. And it might be a bit of a change from our usual process, but I think it's important that Mr. DeHaan speaks and allows us to discuss this, and then we'll do a quick poll to see which way we need to read the resolution. Mr. DeHaan.
Thank you. So just a little background on this report for Council's consideration. This summer into the fall, we did some ditching work at the Macintosh Inn in Morrisburg. Here's an overhead view of the location there, and I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, are familiar with Macintosh Inn. And so we were working along County Road 2, obviously. In the course of that work, the culverts at the two front entrances needed to be replaced. What our policies or bylaw, speaks to whenever we're replacing entrances is that we either maintain the existing entrance width if it's wider than what the current standard is, or apply the inappropriate current standard to widen it to a more generous width. So it's always going to be wider, or if not as wide as it is today. So we did that, and we applied, when we looked at the existing entrances and looked at the standard, they actually met. So what was there was actually in accordance with what we would have applied. And I've provided Council with a copy of that standard. It's a Ministry of Transportation standard that's even spoken to within our bylaw. The owner has asked for consideration for a wider entrance, and that was to, and I believe the rationale was provided to Council as to what, or to, to the clerk, as to why the owner is interested in a wider entrance than what's currently permitted within our bylaw. So ultimately what we're doing, and sorry, I should show this as well. So we did, just to demonstrate that there is, and of course this is we'll call it the absolute worst case scenario. What you're looking at is a drawing showing turning radiuses with two buses coming in and out. The reality is that it's never, even if you watch behavior on intersections of roadways, usually you'll see the bus clear if there's another bus attempting to turn, or, if you have two buses coincidentally meeting at an entrance. So I guess what this is going to demonstrate here is that there is, and this is a bus and a delivery truck, and what it illustrates is that there is sufficient radius, like within the design, to permit that type of traffic to come in and out. Concern from the landowner is that the entrance is narrow, and with the deepened ditch that there's more risk to vehicles coming in and out of the entrance to go into the ditch. And so they have requested to go from what is an 8-meter entrance to 11 to 12 meters to provide more width for those vehicles to come in and out of that entrance. So, and sorry, this is showing a transport truck, again, in what we'll call the worst case scenario, where the reality is that you usually see the transport truck, even at intersections, cheat over the center line to be able to get in and tighten that curve. So there is, from the engineering perspective, there is sufficient, the geometry that's being provided is sufficient. The standard that has been reinstated in that entrance is appropriate and meets the standard that would be there, and it also matches what was previously there. So ultimately, the owner still is requesting that the county approve it, and the authority under the bylaw then goes to county council rather than staff, because we, from staff's perspective, we have to apply consistent standards and policies whenever we're dealing with these things, and ultimately it's up to council to make decisions if they want to vary from the standards provided for within bylaw. So with that, I'll leave it with council.
Thank you, Mr. DeHaan. As Mr. DeHaan says, he's leaving it to us, and we do have the two options in front of us: the maintain the current standard, and that's the recommended, and the permit a non-standard entrance configuration, and the reasoning for it not being recommended is captured in the presentation. So, discussion. Councillor Broad.
Yes, thank you. And through your warden, obviously I would like this council to support recommendation number 2, where we permit the standard to allow this widening. This is an important hotel and conference center in all of SNG. It's in fact the only one. We see throughout the areas much wider entrances to many businesses, so to be consistent with other businesses in our municipality, as well as all of the other businesses that I've traveled up County Road 12, 31, 43, and 34 over the last week, measuring different entrances ways. I'd like for us to support this and allow this widening.
Thank you for that. Councillor McGillis. Councillor McDonald to follow.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Just a question. In the event that council did support Councillor Broad's recommendation, how would you go about adding or expanding the width of that? Would you add another culvert and or would you tear it all back up and put a new culvert in? How would you do that, and what would be the cost?
Well, that's an excellent question, and ultimately, because it's through the permitting process, it's up to the business owner to install it. So the cost is actually with the business owner to provide that widening, and the business owner has recognized that and understands that it's up to them to be able to pay for that widening. What is likely to happen is that it will have to be removed, what's there now, and again, without going out and knowing exactly where couplers are and whatnot, because it's very difficult to put right now it's at 8 meters. It needs, to go to 12 meters, you're 2 meters on each side, so that's not even 8 feet. To have that small of an extension on the end may not be feasible because you get movement, so you might have to go back into the culvert to create the right kind of spacing where the coupler is located. So, I guess the worst case scenario is, it's going to have to be, everything's going to have to be removed and replaced. But it would be at the property owner's expense the first time around. Subsequent ones, the county would obviously, provided the bylaw remains the same, and there's no reason to suggest it won't be, we'd be reinstating it going after it's been installed by the owner.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and my question was about cost, so you've answered that. I tend in these situations to take the lead of the members of council from that area. They would know best, so I support South Dundas's position on this, so I would move that motion if so be it.
Thank you for that. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I would support that motion as well. This issue has come up at County Council table before. I think it was in the previous council, though, where in St. Andrews we had some entrance issues there. My question is did this request come up, before this work had been done, or afterwards?
It was in the course of the work that it came up, and the reality is the request to council came just before. Well, you can see when the request to council came in. So we had worked with the property owner and had had demonstrated, you know, again, like demonstrating we matched existing, demonstrating the that the standard was appropriate based on our understanding of what type of traffic and the frequency of traffic coming in there. So from a staff level, I think we attempted to best describe that it remained appropriate and that it met a standard. But ultimately, what the property owner was still looking for something greater than what staff could approve. But you know, we had to get paving done. We had to kind of wrap it up before winter got here. Had it been, you know, had we ditched at the beginning of the season, I'm sure we would have said, don't do any paving until such time that it's just the circumstance. So, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and through you. Thanks, Ben, for the presentation, and appreciate that staff has to kind of follow with the rules that are set out, but we don't always have to. So I'm going to go with Councillor Broad and say that I think it should be widened out. I mean, I've put entrances into fields that you guys have made me go wider than that, and I didn't want to go wider, but I was forced to. But anyway, so I mean, it's the way it is sometimes. It's too bad it couldn't have been dealt with during the process. It would have been so much simpler to put a little bit of pipe on there at a few dollars, and it would have been all done. But if he's going to pay the bill, and if it's brand new, the ditch has just been done, maybe you can put a small extension on, because you'll have a good firm base there that, you know, it's been just cleaned, so maybe it will not be too much money for him. I hope not anyway, but I'm in favor.
Thank you, Councillor. Comments from other councillors that haven't had an opportunity yet? I will get to you, Councillor. That's fine. And this, and again, as I mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, this is an opportunity for us to have this discussion, so I can have the proper resolution read. So, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Warden. What is the cost for an extra 4 meters of pipe? So like the next time, as you said, it's our responsibility, and maybe it's not a fair question. So we have 8 meters now. Next time we're going to have to replace it with 12 plus the gravel and all the works. Would that be material? Like, would it be like 10,000 more? And if a pipe lasts 50 years, it's like $500 a year extra to us? Or that's, I'm just looking at that.
Yeah, I guess well, because this is for 2 entrances as well, just for clarity, for council's sake, this is not like we're illustrating the west entrance in the examples we're showing here, but it is 2 entrances. I think 10,000 is an overestimation of what that would end up costing, because it's just that incremental cost in selecting pipe sizes that actually meet the width that you need. So I don't have it off the top of my head, but I would say 10,000 is probably more than what it would end up being extra compared to what the standard would be.
Thank you for the question. Councillor McGillis.
That it was okay. Thank you, Mr. Warden. I was just going to echo what Councillor Lang mentioned in terms of, you know, we don't have to always follow the rules that we have in the past. As Councillor Williams mentioned, same predicament happened in east of St. Andrews. I totally will support this initiative, and I would second that motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I see a nod of head. Thank you very much. Okay, so Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Warden, I do have a motion here that would authorize the exception. It's moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor McGillis, and reads that the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry authorize staff to issue entrance permits at 12495 County Road 2 in order to facilitate the installation of commercial entrances to a maximum width of 12 meters, and that all other provisions of the SDG Counties Entrance Bylaw shall apply.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Thank you very much, and thank you for the presentation, Mr. DeHaan. We'll move into bylaws, and Madam Clerk, the resolution for speed limit updates, please.
It's moved by Councillor Broad, seconded by Councillor Bergeron, that bylaw number 5424, being a bylaw to revise the prescribed rate of speed for motor vehicles driven on certain county roads, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Thank you very much, Mr. DeHaan.
Thank you. Just show of hands who drove over the South Nation Bridge today or this weekend. Anybody? So poor Chesterville is going to be wondering why it's so quiet in the downtown. I guess I wanted to preface this by saying, we appreciated the support of North Dundas through that project, and particularly the people of Chesterville putting up with that detour through the entire summer. It was a long detour. It went. I will say, I was downtown Chesterville often, and seemed to be flowing well. Certainly more busy than it normally is, but I think traffic really adjusted to the closure well, and we're happy that it's over with, and we can now kind of go back to normal for the village. In so saying, as we talked about last month during when we were looking at speed limits, there was a request to take a look at the Chesterville area, just post detour, to see if there was any amendments that were required, or if we felt comfortable with the previous speed limits that had been there prior to construction starting. What we came back with was a couple of what I'm going to call them minor tweaks to speed limits, but certainly tweaks that we think fit the roadside environment well. First one is related to, and that's specifically what this report is, but the first one's related to the piece of County Road 7 that's on the south end. What we're proposing here is an extension of the 50-kilometer-per-hour speed limit zone within the village. We're extending it slightly. I say north, but it's actually south, I'm sorry. So we're extending it slightly south so that the 50-kilometer zone is a little bit further south, and then maintaining the 60-kilometer-per-hour speed limit the entire distance from 43 to where that 50 starts. So it's just a minor tweak where before there was a little piece of 80 before it turned to 60, and then 60 extended a little bit further before it turned to 50. So we're keeping it 60, 50 starts a little sooner this end of town. North end of town, again, not as maybe as a dramatic a change, but what we're looking at is extending that 60-kilometer-per-hour zone slightly north compared to where it previously was. 50 stays where it currently is right now, but the 60 is better encompassing the kind of that build out of the Chesterville area at the north end of town, and transitioning from the 80 to a 60 through the curves, and then, like I said, the 50 remains where it is. So some minor tweaks, nothing dramatic, but certainly from our perspective, better suited to what's out in the village right now.
Thank you for that presentation, Mr. Gahan, and I do want to thank the management of that project, the South Nation Bridge reconstruction. I want to thank your staff and the contractors for that process. It was a challenge that the residents of Chesterville and the area met, and I do want to thank everyone that was challenged by that project for their patience. And I did not receive more than 3 or 4 negative comments of that during that whole process, and I'm very thankful for that, which speaks to the understanding of the need for that reconstruction. And actually, I did get one great big handshake one day for getting it done, and I didn't take full credit. A lot of the credit, but not full credit. So, questions, comments to the presentation. We're going to go with Councillor Bergeron, then Councillor St. Pierre.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Mine is short. I totally agree with this change, and thank you for the pictures.
Councillor St. Pierre.
Thank you, and through you, Warden, if you could just flip back to your other slide. I'm in support of what Ben is recommending. I just want to point out of where you're bringing to the south, the speed limit to the south. I think it's a great idea because you're actually doing it before the residents and the businesses. I actually would encourage, Ben, that we should be looking at all of our little hamlets throughout SDG, and I know where you know where I'm going with this one, on one particular that's been requested. I do believe that we should have safe zones within our residents and our businesses, whether or not there's planned development, future planned development or not. We don't know when these planned developments are going to occur, so I would strongly encourage you to, if you could, over the next few months, look at all of our hamlets and villages, and wherever we can adjust some speed limits by, 50 meters, 100 meters, just to slow the traffic down before S-curves, before residential, existing residents and businesses. I would encourage that. I think there's a number of small hamlets and villages that could that occur. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm going to move to Councillor Nensham.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. And yeah, project well done. Again, it was a lot for the people of Chesterville to be able to absorb that traffic, but it went on fairly well. As I said, as I've said before, I have family in the area, and again, they noticed a bit of traffic, but there could have been a whole lot more congestion that took place. So very well coordinated. And I agree with the change. Obviously, we discussed it at the last meeting, and I think it makes a lot of logical sense, not only for the transition speed, but also the timing. I mean, right now, the people of Chesterville have recognized a lot of changes in speed limits throughout, so I think they'll be keeping a close eye on how this is going to play out for the long run, so I think the timing is perfect as well. So thank you for the great work.
Thank you, Councillor, and Mr. DeHaan.
Sorry, unrelated, but kind of related. Just an update. We did order. I don't know if Council remembers the special intersection warning signal system at 43 and 7. That was at the direction of Council. That has been ordered. Like it is. They delivered one. It was the wrong unit. We've had to deliver it back. The new one is allegedly being delivered. So we still intend to get that operational before the snow flies, which, if you read the weather reports, is actually tomorrow. So no, we do intend to still get that. That's still ongoing. Just unfortunately, just as a result of shipment and delays, it just hasn't arrived yet.
Further thoughts, comments? Then I'll just follow up with my thoughts on that transition. I know we've talked about it before, and in certain areas, I think on 7 north of Morwood, and it really does offer some relief to the residents of the area when they see that in place, and they do appreciate the consideration by council, by staff whenever that we consider these things. And I do echo Councillor St. Pierre's thoughts. I think this is a trend that we should really investigate hard and see if we can get these transition areas and maybe move the 50K further away from the downtown and out in the areas where we need to ensure people have slowed down before they are surprised. I think of the times that we travel from 80 and all of a sudden it's 50, and by the time we refocus ourselves, we're deep into the community and we're still doing a bit more than 50, and I know that's not unique to all of us. So I appreciate the conversation, and thank you for your thoughts there, Councillor St. Pierre, on expanding that. All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Madam Clerk, the Snowmobile Club lease.
It's moved by Councillor Broad, seconded by Councillor Guédon, that bylaw number 5425, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a lease agreement between the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry and the Riverside Snowmobile Club, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Thank you. Mr. DeHaan, Mr. Duncan.
Thank you. Phil dressed up, so we thought we'd invite him up here to join us. I guess Phil deserves the credit here. He's been proactive in getting a lease in place. For any council member that remembers, the last time we did this, we were a year behind in actually getting the lease done, but this time we were ahead of schedule for a change, so it's great. I think I speak for Phil in saying that it's been a very good relationship with the Snowmobile Club. You know, they look after the trails, they look after that area, keep an eye out on the forest on our behalf, and actually bring a lot of like a diverse type of clientele into and through that forest. So all in all, it's really good. It's a nominal lease amount that covers our costs to go in, take a look at it, and maintain good working relationships with the Snowmobile Club through the duration of that lease.
Thank you, Mr. DeHaan, and nice to see you're dressed up. Questions, comments, thoughts? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, it's carried. And Madam Clerk, the encroachment agreement.
It's moved by Councillor Bergeron, seconded by Councillor St. Pierre, that bylaw number 5426, being a bylaw for the purpose of establishing an encroachment agreement between the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry and Third High Farm Services Limited at 10737 County Road 18, South Dundas, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Thank you. Mr. DeHaan.
If there's any questions, happy to answer them.
Questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, seeing none, that's carried. Thank you, Mr. DeHaan. Madam Clerk, the OPP contract extension.
It's moved by Councillor Lang, seconded by Councillor Broad, that bylaw number 5427, being a bylaw to enter into an amending agreement with His Majesty the King and Right of Ontario, as represented by the Solicitor General, OPP contract renewal, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden, through you. This is a simple amending agreement to our current OPP contract. It would extend the current agreement for 1 year. All other provisions in the agreement would remain the same. The board did review this at their meeting in September. The current agreement is up for expiration at the end of this year, so this would take us until the new piece of legislation is in place, most likely in the spring, and then our agreement would then be looked at and renegotiated at that point. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. And before I ask the clerk for the consent agenda resolution, I look to staff if there's anything they'd like to add before we read the resolution. Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
It's moved by Councillor St. Pierre, seconded by Councillor Lang, that all items listed under the consent agenda section of the agenda be received for information purposes.
All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Boards and committees. From the warden's report, I don't think there's been anything really going on so much as lots of activities throughout SDG. I haven't been involved in an Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus meeting, I'm sure, since the last time we met, but I do want to take this opportunity. I think I was reminded by Councillor Gano, and I'm not sure why he reminded me, but I think he reminded me that this is your last meeting, I guess my last regular meeting of council. I believe I'm correct to say that. I don't see anyone telling me I'm wrong. So I just want to express to everyone here, I want to express to staff and those people that occasionally are in the audience that excuse me, I truly enjoyed my time sitting here for the regular meetings of council, for the special meetings of council, for any time I had the opportunity to sit here and chair this fine group. I appreciate the patience everyone's demonstrated. I appreciate the kindness that has taken place in the room, how we treat each other with respect, and I think we set a good example for the community at large that discussions can be had and things resolved. And it's a group effort, a team effort, if you would. And again, thank you very much for your time and allowing me to do this year. So to that, I'm going to move to the next item, the Joint Liaison Committee. I'm not sure who I'm looking at. Councillor McDonald, Councillor McGillis. Meeting will be Wednesday. Library Board, I look to Lachlan McDonald or Councillor McDonald or Councillor Landry.
If I could move, that was the one that I had to remove myself.
Oh yes, you had another meeting that evening. Yes, I'm sorry. Councillor Landry.
I do not have my book. I know we met here at the administrative building. We did go concentrate more on budget talks. Had some good debates, but other than that, like I said, I apologize for not having my book to go into further details of other activity. Maybe Councillor Broad has anything to add?
Yeah, no, our main discussion was on the budget items.
Yes, thank you. Police Services Board, Councillor McGillis.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. First thing we can talk about is we went through in good detail with the District Commander Mark Hemrick with respect to the draft budget, which will come to this council for their consideration. I would say that, I can say this, that the total billing for 2024 was $9,981,000, and it'd be a monthly cost to the counties at $831,753. So that'll be something we'll be discussing when that comes. I can also add that our former MPP, Jim McDonnell, is now appointed on the board for approximately 6 months because of the new legislation that will come into effect, which Kim mentioned, and our contract will expire by that time. And he's a new appointment, and he'll be at the next zoning meeting, which I received an email from Kimberly with respect to the zone meeting will be coming up November 24th. The board collectively went through a performance review for the detachment commander, Mark Hemrick. I met with Mr. Hemrick at my office the other day and to review the results of the performance review that we had at the board. And I can say that at both occasions it went extremely well. So I'm happy for Mr. Hemrick for all the good work he's been doing, and the rest of the OPP detachment. So that went really well.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McDonald, anything to add? Thank you. Eastern Ontario Health Unit, Councillor Williams or Councillor Lang?
We had very long deliberations about budget, and there is going to be, you'll be hearing more in the coming weeks. And anything else, Councillor Lang?
Thank you. Glenstore Dunn Lodge.
Next meeting is December 13th. Nothing to report.
Thank you. St. Lawrence River Institute, Councillor Guindo.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. St. Lawrence River Institute meets quarterly. The next meeting is going to be December 6th at 3 p.m. Nothing to report.
Thank you. Raisin South Nation Source Water Protection, Councillor Bergeron.
Hi, thank you, Warden. Our meeting was postponed again. I think our last meeting was in June. So I spoke to Alison McDonald last her what was going on, why these meetings keep being postponed. And she told me that the Ministry of Environment has not yet responded to our report, reports that we sent them either last June or July. So we're still waiting for the response before we can have another meeting. Maybe not till January now.
Thank you. Once again, Municipal Advisory Algonquin Land Claim, nothing to report. Eastern Ontario Agri-Food Network, Councillor Williams, nothing to report. Regional Incentives Program Approvals Committee, Councillor Densham, St. Pierre, nothing. And Andrew. Social Development Council, nothing. Rural Education Committee, nothing. I think there was, not to speak too much about the Rural Education Committee, but at our most recent strategic advisory meeting, and it did come up on some of the strategies that may be used, and there was great enthusiasm demonstrated by some on that committee, and well demonstrated, because the Rural Education Committee is very important to everyone in this community, and any opportunity we have that our message is delivered is good. So we'll move into key information. Ontario Library Week. Ms. Luck.
Thank you. I just wanted to take this opportunity to kind of share the good news and the hard work from our staff with regards to the Ontario Public Library Week. Okay, so October was deemed Canadian Public Library Month, and from October 16th to the 22nd, SDG Library celebrated Ontario Public Library Week. And this year's theme was designated as Libraries for Life. And so to celebrate, SDG Library hosted several events, one being SDG Reads. We launched the Morewood Express Depot, and we held a Fall Book Lovers Basket Giveaway contest. So SDG Reads is a one book, one community program, and that encourages all residents across SDG to read the same title before coming together for an evening with the author. SDG Reads selects Canadian authors to highlight the diverse talent of our country. After a 3-year hiatus, the 2023 SDG Reads event featured author Maureen Jennings and her Paradise Cafe Mysteries series. Perhaps best known for her character William Murdoch of the Murdoch Mysteries, Maureen is the author of 13 novels and has won the Grant Allen Award for her contribution to Canadian crime writing. Residents of SDNG were invited to attend the event at North Stormont Place on Monday, October 23, 2023. A special VIP experience was held for those who wished to have one-on-one time with the author. The main event followed, in which Ms. Jennings spoke about her series, answered questions from the audience, and later signed copies of her books. The hall was decorated such that it reflected key details of the book series, with food and beverages offered, culminating with a silent auction with proceeds going to SDG Reads. I also want to share with Council the sentiments conveyed from Ms. Jennings following the event, in which she said, "I cannot express how moved I was by your hosting me yesterday. The care and thought that had gone into the displays was fantastic." The hall was nearly at maximum capacity, and staff had received an overwhelming amount of positive feedback from the event. John and Susan wrote staff expressing their gratitude by saying, "Just a word of appreciation for the outstanding event last evening in Avonmore. The generosity of time and the talent of the staff was just fantastic. We were so impressed with the attention to detail, especially in honoring the author. The obvious love and passion that went into the event made it a most rewarding and enjoyable event." So some key takeaways from the event: we had over 100 general admission tickets distributed. The VIP event was over 50% sold out. Each title in this year's highlighted series was circulated on average 10 times per copy within the SDG library system. Over 50 copies of the titles were sold to patrons as a fundraiser prior to the final event. And we had almost $2,000 in book sales and donations received on the evening of the event. So to celebrate Ontario Public Library Week, SDG Library launched the Morewood Express Depot. As Council may be familiar, the Morewood Library was closed in 2016, and since then, the residents of Morewood have campaigned that a library presence return to Morewood. In consultation with the Director of Recreation and Culture from the Township of North Dundas, a drop-off bin was installed on September 12, 2023 at the Morewood Community Center adjacent to the community mailbox, with a sign saying "Coming soon." On October 16, 2023, the Morewood Express Depot officially launched, allowing patrons to request items to be picked up from a nearby establishment in Morewood. As part of the campaign, a mass mailout was completed to the residents describing how to use the new Express Depot. Although it is in its beginning stages, the Express Depot is already having circulation deliveries. So the first week we saw 3 items circulated, second week 7 items, and the third week 18, which I hear our fourth week is even higher. So it's being used. Lastly, to again celebrate Ontario Public Library Week, the SDG Library partook in a giveaway that ran on Facebook from October 17th to the 24th. The giveaway prize was a fall reading basket, which consisted of autumn-themed items that could be used while reading a library book. The prize was inspired by the Boo Basket trend on TikTok, which was an effort to get younger engagement without sacrificing the engagement of an older audience. As such, the residents of SDNG counties were invited to like and comment on the post for one entry. For a second entry, residents were asked to provide a comment on what they loved about their library. So if I could just share some of the comments that were received with council. So when asked, why do you love your library? It always provides a warm, welcoming environment for all ages. It brings our town just a little bit closer. Great programs for the children, friendly atmosphere. The affordability of this service makes it reading accessible to so many. I love the library because it gives me a quiet place to focus and enjoy learning. Being new to the area, the library is a great place to meet people. And lastly, I love libraries for the role they play in building communities, providing accessible information, and creating a safe place. So lastly, just some key takeaways from the event. The post reached nearly 4,000 people, which in comparison to our normal posts, which only reach about 400. We gained 20 new followers as a direct result of the post. 392 people commented on the post. 28 people shared the post to their network, and 41% of the people who participated in the contest include the reason why they loved the SDG Library. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. Questions, comments? I just want to, again, I can't express enough how wonderful that event was that you speak about with the author, and I look forward to future events being equally as successful, and please express our appreciation to staff for preparing that and the displays. I know the comment was there from Ms. Jennings about that, and from the other John and the other couple, but truly, to those that weren't there, this Ms. Jennings and her spouse couldn't believe how nicely it was set up. They said they've been to different events and different launches and book signings, and this one was unique in how well it was done, and they were more than impressed. And so, thank you for all that.
Thank you.
Administrative update, Madam CAO.
Well, thank you, Mr. Warden. I've just provided a little bit of information regarding our schedule and meetings in October. There are some key dates that we want to focus on in the next couple of weeks. So we have budget meetings planned for December 6th and December 7th if necessary. The inaugural meeting is December the 15th, and our next regular council meeting is December the 18th. We have a staff Christmas party, and all of council is encouraged and invited to attend on December the 1st. We have not had many RSVPs, so if anybody is interested in attending that event this morning, I can certainly relay that information to the committee. One other thing that I'd like to mention, Mr. Warden, just in some discussions with yourself and with Councillor McDonald, and then also the event that we had last week to kind of look at advocacy and training. There are 2 delegations that I'm planning to submit on behalf of the counties for the upcoming Roma conference, not a concert. One is with the Ministry of Transportation to continue to, I guess, address our concerns and follow up on the work that's needed to be done on the 138, as well as a delegation with the Minister of Education with respect to rural schools and the importance of that in our area, as well as looking into Bill 98 and how we can work with the upper levels of government to engage with our local communities and have that supportive network for our students in those rural areas. So those were a couple of items that I wanted to mention. As council is aware, we were able to ratify our QP agreement in November, so thank you to council for that. Thank you to the team for working on that agreement. I thought it was a very good relationship between management, our union representatives, and we had the support of council and our collective to put that together. So with that, that's just a brief update. If anybody has any questions for me, I'm happy to take them.
Questions, comments? I do want to thank you, Madam CEO, for making sure that event was organized with Strategy Corp. And I look forward to, as I sit over here next to my deputy mayor in the future, as I sit next to my deputy mayor in the future and the rest of the council, and Councillor McDonald will be sitting here, I look forward to more of those types of engaging meetings that enhance our ability to deliver a clear message to those that need to understand the struggles that we have in SDG. So that was, I think that was, I know that was a good event, and it was well appreciated. Motions, notice of motions, as we'll sail right through down to the ratification bylaw. Madam Clerk.
It's moved by Councillor Gaindall, seconded by Councillor Densham, that bylaw number 5428, being a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by resolution, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
All those in favor, opposed, seeing none, that's carried. And finally, the I'm sorry, Councillor Landry.
If I may just add before we adjourn, no, on behalf, well, the fact that you mentioned that it was your last meeting and you didn't get a whole bunch of cheers and cheers is a good sign. No, I'd just like to say on behalf of myself, and I think I'm speaking for the others, I think it was a job well done, and I congratulate you on the year of you being warden. I think was appreciated by all. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, and I wasn't seeking that. I was just hoping no one threw anything, that's all. And I appreciate that nothing was thrown, but I just want to, again, thank you for the kind words and for the thoughts. Madam Clerk, the adjournment resolution.
It's moved by Councillor Broad, seconded by Councillor Bergeron, that council adjourn to the call of the chair.
All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. Thank you very much.